Okay, one more time, Med. It's okay if I record this?
Yep, you're good.
So, what happens when a YouTuber and a recruiting analyst talk about National Signing Day? You're about to find out. Hey guys, Diggs Report here, back to you with another video, and this time I have a guest, and I would like for my guest to introduce himself.
Hey, John. It's Ahmed Ghafir. I'm a publisher for Inside the Black and Gold. I appreciate you letting me join on, man.
Not a problem, Med. All right, and from the beginning, you guys can tell I'm going to talk about early National Signing Day, which started yesterday. A lot of kids got signed. Let's just go through the top 10 recruiting classes. Then we're going to go through the top 20 kids from Maryland, and then we're going to actually talk about Maryland's recruiting class. Let's get started with these top 10 recruiting classes. Okay, so first two, no surprise, was Alabama and Ohio State. Those two were just recruiting at another level this year. It was Ohio State and Alabama and everybody else. Would you agree with that, Ahmed?
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, it seems like Ohio State every year. I know Tyleek Williams, he was a guy out of Virginia, and he was a guy that was kind of on their radar, and it seemed like Tyleek always wanted to go there. It seemed like there was a moment where Virginia Tech was going to be able to swoop in, and then Ohio State just is able to change their mind. They want them, they get them. That's kind of always been the case with Alabama as well. So no surprise to see him continue to remain as the national elites.
3 and 4 were Georgia and LSU. So 3 out of the top 4 were SEC classes, which should not surprise anybody. It seems like lately it's been SEC, everybody else, maybe Ohio State, maybe Clemson, but SEC just seems to dominate these rankings. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. No, I mean, it's the SEC alert every year in, year out. Will always draw kids, and they again they kind of recruit at a different level. The way that the style that they recruit with allows them to operate a little bit differently. So again, no surprise.
Now, are you surprised that LSU actually kept this class together? Because you hear all the rumors about what's going on with LSU. Maybe they might not have Ed Orgeron next year. You surprised a little bit that they were able to just keep everything together. They lost a couple of kids, but it wasn't too bad.
No, I mean it definitely schools definitely trying hard on the negative recruiting. Once things kind of go that trend that way, you definitely will have schools kind of point to what's going on, and hey, the X, Y, and Z wants out. But I think with the way that the transfer portal has kind of evolved, I think it has kind of, for a lot of kids, has told themselves, look, this is where I want to be. If it doesn't work out, I can just transfer. So it's I'm a little surprised because a guy like Greg Penn was a guy that I was tracking down the line from Maryland, so I'm a little surprised that he ended up signing with LSU. But no surprise that LSU is still recruiting well.
Yeah. Clemson's number 5, and they only had 18 kids. That's one of the lowest numbers here. Everybody else, I think, had over 20. Maybe one school didn't have over 20, but Clemson, they're one of the best recruiters right now, and they were just recruiting at another level. Dabo Sweeney has really done a great job with this program.
Yeah, I think Clemson, they do a really good job of being pretty selective. I'm pretty sure, I think it was either a year or two ago when they got Xavier Thomas, might be that cycle, but I think they only signed like 14 or 15 kids. So there are definitely instances where they know that they can recruit at a certain level. They know what guys they want. They know how many spots they have, and they shoot for the stars. And the last couple of years they've been hot. I don't know if they've been as hot this year. I'm not as high on Clemson as everyone else is this year, but I think yeah, Clemson has a better brand than they definitely did 10 years ago. That's for sure.
Oh yeah. We'll see what happens when they play Notre Dame. Oregon, number 6, and Oregon is another team that's really raised its recruiting level ever since. I don't know what happened with Oregon, but they've really just done a whole lot better with recruiting. I think it was a couple of years ago they got the number 2 kid. Is that right? Was it 2019 when they got that? When they got I can't remember his name. I can't remember how to say his name, but he was like the number 2 kid, defensive end out of I think it was California. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, it was last year. But yeah, I mean, no surprise that Oregon does well. Joe Moorhead, the offensive coordinator there, does a really good job. And I know that they got Dante Thornton out of Baltimore, and the fact that Moorhead, that he knew Thornton from his time at Penn State, to the type of offense that Oregon runs, to the Nike backing that they provide for the University of Oregon. It's actually, in my opinion, it's become the hottest school in the Pac-12. I think they have more to sell, more success to be able to point to. I think it's a big reason why that they're able to beat a team like USC, who 5-10 years ago we thought was kind of untouchable on the trail, but here's come Oregon.
Not to mention get to a national championship. I mean, that's pretty impressive. You got to admit. Oklahoma's number 7. They got the top quarterback in this entire class in Caleb Williams. Let's just talk about him for a second because he's from D.C. We're not going to cover all the kids from D.C., but top quarterback, what more can you say? I mean, they are just building that quarterback room. They already have Spencer Rattler. He's going to be around for at least another year, and then Caleb's going to take over.
No.
What is with Oklahoma and developing quarterbacks?
I think Caleb's going to beat Rattler next year. There's
oh,
no
you
doubt.
do?
I already have bets with people that he's gonna overtake Rattler. I think Caleb Williams is by far, it's not even a comparison. Haskins was one of the best quarterbacks that I've seen. He was the best quarterback that I saw in the DMV, and since I've been covering since 2014, Caleb Williams blows him out of the water.
Wow.
Haskins was a really good guy. He was a really good pro-style quarterback who had a really strong arm. He's done a better job of reading defenses, obviously, throughout the year, and he's obviously shown that he has the arm strength. But in my opinion, Caleb Williams, I remember when back in February, I went over to Gonzaga, and I had a conversation with Coach Shivers, head coach over at Gonzaga, and I kind of just simply asked him, do you consider him a dual threat or a pro style? And at first, I thought he didn't like the question, and then I kind of explained, I don't know what he does better. He can throw the ball 60 yards. He can run out of the pocket. He can tuck it and run if he wants to. He's smart about when he wants to tuck it and run. I mean, he is truly a special talent. And I know Maryland fans are probably definitely salty to hear that, but it is the truth. He is a special talent.
Yeah, you just knew Oklahoma was gonna get him because of what they did with Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray, Jalen Hurts. I mean, you just knew it was most likely going to be Oklahoma.
Yeah, I mean, once Oklahoma really targeted him and went all out, they prioritized him and said, "You're our guy." I think it gradually became tough to say no to.
Yeah. Oh, and the last 3 are Florida, Notre Dame, and Miami. That rounds out the top 10. And I just got a few more things to talk about this. Any class that really disappointed you? Any class that you want to talk about that disappointed you?
Yeah, I mean, I would say Penn State's class was pretty disappointing. I thought that just the kind of the mantra that they always carry and the recruiting style, it's actually pretty interesting because when I was asking around about locally about how Maryland recruits, is their recruiting pitch efficient, and this was really before the 22 class kind of came in, and a lot of coaches were kind of saying Maryland recruits a lot similar to Penn State. Maryland doesn't, before in the old staff it was more of a, okay, Durkin's the head coach, but Azar is leading, or Chris Beatty is leading, and there wasn't really always as much overlap. This time around, even like Zaki Wheatley, for example, he was a guy Maryland didn't get. He went to Penn State, but they kind of all went out and they all split up responsibilities. So I think Penn State, I think they are obviously hurt from the fact that they're very big on they go all out for your recruiting visit, and they have a lot to show in the facilities and whatnot. But I thought it was pretty surprising that they weren't able to really muster that same momentum. And once things became spiraling downward, it really didn't seem like there was a bottom at one point. I'm not going to say names, but there have been Penn State commits that were reaching out and telling other coaches, saying, "Hey, I'm open. Hey, I'm committed, but I'm not committed." So yeah, it's a little surprising to see that they kind of struggled on the trail this year.
Yeah, I'm looking at these rankings. One thing I don't like seeing is Auburn down at number 40. That's not somewhere where Auburn wants to be because they're in the same state as Alabama. You do not want to be down there. Looking at Virginia Tech, that's 43, and they really don't have a lot of kids from Virginia in their class, do they?
No, I mean, Virginia Tech is each year they keep head coach Justin Fuente there. They're only hurting their program more. It was evident, really, to me, coming into this year. I could have made the argument the previous 12 months before then could have been a justifiable time to fire him. Based on what I've heard, I don't think he really has any chance to win back the state, win back that trust. I don't think it's a good cultural fit at this point. So Virginia Tech decided to keep him, and when you mentioned Auburn earlier, I think that's also a big indication. I mean, they just fired Gus Malzahn on
Yeah.
Sunday. And had they kept him, they would have gotten George Wilson. He's a four-star defensive end out of Green Run. Was supposed to come to Maryland before it was Auburn, and then before it was Florida State and all that. But yeah, I think once Auburn, once they get their head coaching spot solidified, they'll be good.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, it's still the SEC, and Auburn, they still are competitive in the SEC. That's what's important.
Exactly.
Okay. Right now, I'm looking at USC as maybe the team that bounced back the most because USC really struggled, I think it was last year, and now they're back up at number 13. That is really good, the fact that they struggled and now they're back.
Yeah, I think they signed, was it 2 or 3 quarterbacks? I think 2.
I think it was, what was the name? Miller Moss, and who's the other one?
I know they got Jackson Dart. I don't know if there was a third, but I know that they signed 2. I know that the quarterback room, JT Daniels was a guy that was supposed to start for him, and then he obviously transferred out, ended up starting for Georgia, and he's doing well at Georgia. Looks like he kind of might be the answer. So USC really had to go all out to kind of solidify that quarterback room. So sounds like they feel really confident on who they've gotten. So, yeah.
And a couple of teams that just picked up right where they left off last year. Oregon is one, had a great class last year, have a great class this year. And North Carolina, Mac Brown has really done a good job there when some people thought maybe he might not do as good a job as he did before, but he is really turning it around North Carolina.
Yeah. To me, it's no surprise. Dre Bly, he's their cornerbacks coach. He's won over that Virginia Beach area really well. They're probably going to get that 2022 4-star wide receiver, Tayon Holloway. I believe he's committing on Saturday, the 19th. No surprises. They're hot. They're doing well under Mac Brown in these 2 years. Came close to beating Clemson last year. They have a lot of ammo to sell. And North Carolina is really a school that sells itself. Has a great girl-to-guy ratio, great weather. They pride themselves, I guess, on academics. At the end of the day, they have the athletic backing, the financial backing. So I've heard North Carolina might be one of the easiest jobs to recruit at in the country. So,
fun fact: North Carolina might have been the first college sport I ever watched because when I was younger, I watched a basketball game, and I believe it was North Carolina, and I've been a fan and I've been sort of a fan of the Tar Heels ever since. They were the first one of the first college teams I ever watched. So good to see them doing well. All right, let's move on from the national to the state of Maryland. Let me find that real quick. All right, top 3 in the state of Maryland were Landon Tainwall. I kept getting the name wrong at first. Dante Thornton and Damian Shop Robinson. These 3 guys, there's a reason they were the top 3. If you ask me, I think all 3 of these guys are going to be impact players in college, and I think all 3 of them could be top 20 picks if they develop. Would you agree with that, Ahmed?
I don't know about top 20 picks. I think they're all really good. I think Tengwall, you can list him as a tackle all one. He's big. He's about probably 6'5", 6'6". I don't know what Penn State officially listed him as. I think he'll be a standout guard. I think that is a position.
Really?
I don't know if he can move as well, but I'm sure if he hears this, I'm sure he will prove me wrong. At the end of the day, he's been a guy that freshman year at council, everyone was saying we have a man on our offensive line, and I remember the first time I saw him, I saw they had a man on their offensive line. Thornton, he's a really good player. I watched him in person a couple months ago. I saw him actually during the pandemic, and ran a couple 40-yard. I think it was a 4.43, 4.43, 4.42. And I swear to God, it looked like he was gliding. If he got the form right, he probably would be in the 4.35 range, no doubt. And Damian Robinson, I don't think I'm biased. I think he is better than both of them. I think he is literally that, and I think he has Yannick Ngakoue potential at Maryland.
Now that is really impressive. We'll get back to Chop later when we talk about Maryland's recruiting class. Monkel Goodwine signed with Alabama. This is a guy that I think might be a versatile defensive lineman. I think when I saw him film, he might be a defensive end. He might be a defensive tackle. I think he could play anywhere on the defensive line. Would you agree
Yeah,
with that?
I think he's projected to line up at strong side defensive end for Alabama. Yeah, I think he's good. I got a chance to watch him. What was it, about a month ago, 6 weeks ago or so? Really good person. Has a great work ethic, and those are kind of the intangibles that you want to see out of prospects. The kind of homework that these coaches kind of do their homework on. I think he can line up a little bit differently. I think he can line up across the offensive or the defensive line. Excuse me. I think once he kind of works on like working that getting that get off and timing it perfectly, I think he's going to be a very very productive SEC defensive lineman, and he will be a eventual NFL draft pick.
Number 5. Help me out with this. It's Jaleel. I cannot pronounce the guy's last name. How do you pronounce it?
Farouk.
Farouk? Okay. From Y, signed with Oklahoma with his friend Caleb Williams. What I saw on film, this is a guy that is a good route runner, and I think he's going to be, at some point, a weapon on Oklahoma's offense. Would you agree with that?
He'll make plays as an underclassman. I think he's at the 3 local receivers, Caden Prather, Farouk, and Thornton. I think Farouk might be the most well-rounded technically out all of them.
Oh, yeah.
And again, another guy. I mean, all 3 of them have relentless work ethics. You don't get to that point in life without carrying that work ethic. But yeah, he's a guy. If you tell him no, he'll work hard enough until you tell him yes.
Okay, 2 St. Francis players take 6 and 7. Clinton Barton Jr., who flipped from Florida to Boston College a few months ago, and Katron Evans, who is a Tennessee signee. Anything you want to add on those 2?
Yeah, no, both productive players. I think it's a good fit for him. Yeah, like Katron Evans, I think he's pretty athletic for his size.
Just want to ask this on Clinton Barton Jr. When he flipped to Boston College, I actually did not see that coming because I follow this closely. I take a look at a lot of this stuff. I did not see anything on that. Did you hear anything from anybody that he was going to flip?
Yeah. Azar Abdul-Rahim, he's the Boston College defensive backs coach. He's a guy, Maryland fans are familiar with him. He's at the end of the day, he's a guy that a lot of people in the area, they trust, they know his name, they know he's good people. So that was someone that Maryland was working on him to no avail, but Boston College was working on him, and they were able to kind of build on that trust. And at the end of the day, he kind of saw the fit to Florida, but he saw a potential starting opportunity as, if not an underclassman, as a potential true freshman. I'm not sure if he is enrolling early. I do not remember off the top of my head, but I suspect that we will hear his name early at Boston College.
And I just want to clarify something. Ahmed is the guy that has all of the knowledge and the sources. I have nothing. I just follow message boards. So I'm not there yet. I hope to be at his level one day, but I'm not there yet. I just want to clarify that for people watching. 8 through 10 is Marcus Bradley from Quinton's Orchard, a guy that needs to put on a little strength, but could be a big-time player as a defensive tackle. Jamon Damas Johnson, outside linebacker from St. Francis, and Greg Penn, an inside linebacker from DeMatha. And Greg Penn, you mentioned him earlier. A lot of people were expecting him to commit to Maryland, and then all of a sudden, like the final week before he committed, it was LSU, which shocked a lot of people and disappointed a lot of Maryland fans, including me.
Yeah,
that was weird.
Yeah. I think there were some outside factors that definitely played a role in the LSU draw. But at the end of the day, LSU really went all out and tried to show what they had to offer, show that they had to overcome a lot to kind of show the fit, from what I understood in this situation, show Penn's fit in the defense. It sounded like the LSU staff really leaned on Zoom throughout the summer, throughout the last couple of weeks and down the stretch to kind of quell those concerns and yeah, no, Marcus Bradley, he's another guy that I know. I really think that he's a guy that him and Terion Sujic from Rock Creek High School, previously National Christian Academy. I think they're both going to be very, very positive and very productive guys. Those are guys that, I think they might have to work on maybe that strength. But you could say that for 95% of guys, offensive, defensive line, once they get from high school to college. It's just a different level. And I think the fact that they're both enrolling early, I think that will significantly help them get on the field early.
Yeah, I remember writing about how do you say his last name again?
Terry subject.
Yeah, I remember writing about him, and what I saw on film was a guy that just does the dirty work. He may not get all the credit in college, but he's going to be a vital member on that team.
He is one of the most quiet, but yeah, he's a great motor. Honestly, he's a great kid. There's no doubt in my mind that he's going to be productive.
All right, number 11 is the top interior offensive lineman. Ryan, help me with this last name.
Linthicum.
Thank you. From Damascus, committed and signed with Clemson to join his former teammate, Brian Breesy, who was the number 1 overall recruit last year and is starting on Clemson's defense. Do you think Ryan eventually takes over the starting center? I don't know who it is right now for Clemson. Do you think he takes over that starting center job?
He's a big boy. He can move too.
Man, that's always good. You want that in your center.
Yeah, exactly. He's really physical. He's going to play. I think he's enrolling early at Clemson too. He's going to be a good player.
If you ask me, center is probably the most important offensive line position over left tackle because that's the quarterback of the offensive line. He has to be one of the smartest guys on the field. All right, number 12 is Damon David from Franklin. This was a late riser. This was a guy that did not become a 4-star until really later on in the recruiting process. Didn't even get ranked until later down the line. How did he become a late bloomer?
It's just I could say he did anything different, but he didn't. At the end of the day, he just needed to get the right film out in front of the right people to get the proper ratings. But at the end of the day, he was always a very productive player, was always really someone that was very athletic. And I think academically, all good there. I know that, a lot of schools sometimes might look at a prospect from Franklin and question grade concerns. I know that there were issues in the past, but he was always the guy that, got it together. He was always had his head on straight, very productive, took care of his business. He just was kind of a diamond in the rough. DMV's very, very deep, talented area. So not every guy's going to get get that attention from day one.
The guy from Hartford County, I completely understand that because we rarely have recruits that are going to be Division I players. Of course, we'll get to that later. Wide receiver from Northwest, Caden. How did you say that how do you pronounce his last name?
Yeah, Caden
Prather, committed and signed with West Virginia. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Oh, and for everybody, I'm using the rankings from 24/7 Sports. They're composite. It's what I always use. Number 14 is Tommy A., who committed and signed with Maryland. We'll get to him later. Saki Wheatley, number 15 from Archbush from Spartan. Safety, could have also been a wide receiver. It's just that he was a better safety. Committed and signed with Penn State. Quarterback from Bullis, Christian, help me out.
Blue.
Blue. Now, this is interesting. He's not originally from Maryland. He's actually from Canada. Is that correct?
Yeah, he transferred over at Bullis. I watched him last year. They were playing Archbishop Carroll, and he has an absolute arm.
Yeah, one thing I noticed on film, and I said, I think this guy's going to start for Penn State because he not only has an arm, I think he can move around too. I mean, he's not just a stickler drop back passer. He can move around if he wants to. And for a guy in the Big Ten, that's a big thing to have.
Yeah, I do think he does more of his damage in the pocket. I think, again, he has a really strong arm. I do think he can move.
Yeah.
But definitely a guy that he can get it 60 yards downfield, and it looks like with ease.
Yeah. Arm is definitely the top thing for him. Colin Mobley from DeMatha, he signed with USC, which is kind of a shocker. I mean, you're not seeing a lot of recruits make a coast trip. So what stood out to USC for him to do that during this time?
So USC actually has the old defensive line coach from Virginia, Vic Soto. He's a
Oh,
very, very, very strong recruiter locally. He was a very big guy for him in the last recruiting cycle. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Soto took the job, if not right after the early signing period. It was right after the February signing period. But either way, it was he's a really, really good recruiter. He's kind of able to go across country and build out those ties on the West Coast, and he still has them on the East Coast. I've heard his name over the years. Really sounds like a very stand-up person, very genuine. He will tell you exactly how it is. So, USC at the end of the day, it also has that alert. It also has it's LA. You get
oh
definitely a
yeah.
lot to sell. So, I think the combination definitely kind of hit it out of the park for him.
Ryan Barnes from Quintus Orchard, cornerback. He signed with Notre Dame. And the last two, 19 and 20, were two Maryland signees, Dante Trader Jr. and Ziangelo Shockley, which we will get to right now because we are going to talk about Maryland's recruiting class, which was ranked 19th and fourth in the Big Ten. I mean, this class, if you want to talk about a defensive heavy class, this is the one to talk about, especially on the defensive line. Maryland had to improve that defensive line, and they really accomplished that goal. Here's the question for me. Do you think that they move from a 3-4 to a 4-3 later down the line?
They could. They definitely could. They have the personnel
Yeah.
for it. I think right now, the way the scheme that they have, I mean, they could, and I think the way that you can kind of use the jack, you know, I think maybe sometimes what fans kind of struggle with is we'll go on a 24/7 profile, we'll go on a rivals profile, and we'll see defensive end, we'll see defensive tackle, but a guy like Damian Robinson, for example, he's a guy that he can literally play defensive end in 4-3. He can play if we want to go to a 3-4 or yeah, 3-4. He could even play a jack sometimes. I mean, he's a
Yeah.
guy that could really, really do it all. And I think with interior guys, athletic interior guys that move really, really well, that carry that weight well, three guys, Daryl Jackson, Tommy Aking-Basote, Andre Porter. Andre Porter was a guy that at one point had weight concerns, and his senior year was playing running back and looked. I mean, he's not a college running back, but he looked good. He showed that he's able to move and maintain that athleticism while carrying that weight. So I think Maryland has a lot of flexibility. Down the line, do I see that becoming more advantageous for them? We'll see. I mean, at the end of the day, now these guys are coming in, they have to develop. But to me, I think this front seven, the way that the guys that they've gotten, and the front seven, that includes the guys that they have at linebacker, getting a guy like Brandon Jennings yesterday. When you think about the interior linebackers at Maryland currently, you have Chance Campbell, you have Ayinde Ely, you have Fanaje Gote, you have Ruben Hippolyte, and you have Cortez Andrews, who hasn't really played that much this year. So it's a pretty deep position. So I feel very strongly, and I kind of had to stop myself at times if I think it's a homer pick, because I really believe that this front seven is going to, I don't know if it's immediately, but down the line will be one of the best in the Big Ten, will be talked about nationally. I think this gives Maryland, it definitely moves the needle for them to control the line of scrimmage. And since Big Ten play, we have not seen that from Maryland. We've seen it a handful of times against maybe Rutgers, against that's probably it. But this is just
All the
really,
lower
really,
level schools that they play, right? All the lower level schools that they play.
yeah. I was thinking, I was like, well, who's lower than Rutgers? And I can't make too much fun of them because we just lost 27-24. So foot and mouth. But at the end of the day, I think I think this is a team. Let me put it this way: they won't be losing to Rutgers on a 27-24 with these kind of guys.
All right. One more thing before we actually talk about each individual player. Speaking of linebackers, do they have the best depth in the Big Ten right now, or who would you put above them with that depth at linebacker?
It's a tough question because at the end of the day, season will finish, guys will hit the transfer portal and all that.
Oh
So
yeah.
I think only thing Maryland has to worry about is themselves. I think that they are in a much better position. When you look at when Chance Campbell first came in, that room was very, very thin. And it allowed guys like Chance and Ayinde Trey Watson, I know he was a grad transfer. He came in, he helped fill the role. Isaiah Davis was a guy that definitely took those steps. But again, just the talent level from when Moxie got here to now, night and day.
With one more thing with Chance and Ace. Do you think those two are NFL players? Because I see glimpses of that, especially with Chance. With Ace, I used to think both of them were. I definitely think Chance will be an NFL player. I'm not too sure on Ace. Maybe it's just because of the up and down this year. But do you think both of them could be in the NFL?
Yeah, I mean, Chance, it's only a matter of time.
Yeah.
Chance, yeah, Chance has been. Let's just say there is NFL interest in
It's
Chance.
ridiculous that he only got an honorable mention from the All Big Ten team. That's kind of ridiculous, if you ask me.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of it is just shortened schedule. Maybe he didn't play. I think it's stupid. I think him and Dargy at least deserve third. But at the end of the day, it's still recognition. Yeah. You put the tape on, he's good. But yeah, I think they'll both be good. And I think maybe Ace could be an outside guy.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about these recruits, starting with the top guy, Damian Chop Robinson. I mean, what more can I say? When I was watching his highlights, the only negatives I could find were just nitpicks. That was it. This guy, oh my God, I have never seen a quicker defensive end than him. There were times when offensive linemen just couldn't get their hands on him because he was so quick.
Yeah.
What does he bring?
Yeah, he's a hell of a player. Has quick twitch, just explosive get off. He's disruptive in the backfield. Once he puts his hands on you, you're going down. He's just genuinely a game changer. Like, you can use him any which way. He's a hell of a player. Genuinely a hell of a player.
Mm-hmm. Brandon Jennings, who they flipped from Michigan yesterday. I mean, linebacker's already a strength of Maryland, and this guy is going to be in the two deep. That's how good he is. With how good Maryland's linebackers are, and this guy is going to be in the two deep. I mean, that is crazy. Question is he going to be outside or is he going to be inside?
I think he could be an inside guy. I could see him playing the mic. What's hard for me is that I haven't seen him in person. So I think maybe he could be a guy that could maybe even play the Sam, or he could kind of play in. But I don't think pass coverage is his strength. I think it's more in the run support. So that's kind of why I think maybe more of an interior guy, maybe more of a guy that can play the jack. But I think until he's able to kind of consistently prove that, I think maybe a Mike where he's kind of coming downhill, maybe in some blitz, and then kind of able to show that he's able to drop back a little bit more consistently. I think that'll suit him. But hell of a player, honestly. Another guy that's when he gets contact on you, you're going down.
Yeah, I mean, I was watching his highlight film going, what the heck? This guy's in high school. Okay. Tell me if I got this wrong. Tyson Johnson from St. John's, defensive tackle, one of Maryland's first commits. This guy is just a Big Ten defensive tackle. I mean, that's the best way I can describe him, and he's playing in the Big Ten, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, he was a guy that took on a lot of double teams when he was at St. John's because of his production. Even when they had guys like Mikhail Sherman and Greg Hodgins, TZ was the most consistent defensive lineman for
him. Tommy A, because I know I'm going to butcher the name. You can say the last name if you want to, but from Flowers, another defensive tackle, but this guy might have the highest upside out of the defensive tackles. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, he's only played 2 years of high school football and a tremendous upside. That's a big reason why he used to play basketball. So when he kind of translated, he had 6'4", 270, 280-pound frame. I don't know. He was 270 pounds in Maryland's release. So when you think about that size, playing inside, and the footwork that comes with the big man, like with that mobility, that agility, he's going to be a productive player once he just focuses on he's a college football player that work ethic matches one of a college football player. Once he gets that down on a consistent basis, again, the sky is the limit for him.
The third defensive tackle, Andre Porter, who transferred from what is it? Blue? Is that how you say it? Blue, which was Mike Loxley's alma mater, to Washington in Pennsylvania. This was a guy that he missed his junior year, so you're not entirely sure if he's going to be ready to go. But Maryland was able to flip him from Boston College before signing day, signs with them. This is just another guy that is going to help out that interior.
Yeah, really. But I mean, he was a guy that Maryland always liked. Once he kind of got the grades got and the Marcus Bradley, the surprise decision definitely made it all possible. It was just, honestly, it was the perfect storm for Maryland.
Probably the best athlete in the state of Maryland from this recruiting class, Dante Trader Jr., who was also a top lacrosse recruit. And Maryland gets him in both lacrosse and football. This guy has a high upside. He hasn't been playing football that long, has he?
No, I believe this was junior year was his first year at McDonough. Yeah, another guy. He'll play free safety for Maryland. He's a guy that has the ball hawk tendency and can really cover a lot of ground very quickly. And it's evident in that athleticism is evident even when he plays across. So he's a hell of a player.
Yeah, one thing I noticed on his film, I think he already has some instincts. And I mean, when you're playing safety, instincts is maybe 50% of playing safety. That's why guys like Edry and Troy Polamalu lasted as long as they did. So if he's already got those instincts, they're just going to grow as he keeps learning the game. D'Angelo Shockley from St. Francis, this is a guy that is a little bit of a developmental guy. He's going to be a defensive end. That's where he lined up at St. Francis, but he's got to put on a little bit more weight. Do I have that right, or am I being a big idiot?
No. I think he's a guy you put in a lot of work with some local defensive line trainers. So I think he's going to be productive. I think he has pretty long arms, so that length will definitely serve him well.
He's also 6'4", and that's great size for a defensive lineman. Great size. This guy right here, Antoine Littleton from St. John's. There's a reason they call him Baby Bus. He does have that little Jerome Bennis in him. Remember watching the highlight film, and I'm going, this guy is this big making those kind of moves. But is he going to stay a running back, or is he going to move somewhere? That's the big question for me.
They'll be given every opportunity at running back. Honestly, all that talk about defensive line, all that, from those supposed experts on other networks, that's just inaccurate because Maryland has accepted him at running back. He's going to be given every opportunity. He's a guy can he transition and play other positions? Yeah, but when you watch what he does with the rock in his hand, the reason why he's successful. There's a reason why St. John's calls him and Colby McDonald lightning and thunder. My full expectation is that he will get every opportunity at running back. If it doesn't work out, he has some ability and he can move around a little bit in a crunch. You watch a guy like Austin Fontaine who moved over from defensive line to offensive line because the numbers crunch. He played offensive line before, but wasn't his strength. It was expected that he could play defensive line, but just having that high potential, being coachable, that helped him. And I think a guy like Antoine Littleton, he's needed at running back right now. So I think he'll find a nice role for him.
Yeah, Littleton, I'm just not seeing defensive line from him. If anything, if he does get moved defense, it might be linebacker. That's where he was originally.
As an inside.
Yeah.
Either or. I just think I'm curious to see. I just want to see how he looks at running back before.
Oh yeah, so do I. I think. Does he have to lose a little bit of weight? Do you think, or can he carry that? What do you think? What do you think would be the ideal weight for him?
Yeah, I mean, I would say maybe probably 250, 245 if they want to maintain the same kind of style that he wants to play. But at the end of the day, 245 it doesn't always mean anything. What's the body composition? What's the body to fat, or the fat to strength, the muscle? That's definitely a thing. Antoine's a very strong guy, so if he's able to turn 260 to 245 and he's a rock, good luck to opposing defensive lines that have to try and bring him down, or opposing linebackers that have to somehow close space and bring down a 245, 250-pound running back.
Yeah, I played high school football, and I know one thing. Don't just pay attention to the weight of somebody. Always take a look at the whole picture of why he weighs as much as he does. Is it more muscle? Is it more fat? That's the big thing. Daryl Jackson from Florida. This was another guy that Where did he decommit from? Help me out. I'm drawing a blank.
Yeah, he decommitted from Tennessee on it was on a Sunday, I believe it was. Let's say it was the 6th. Maryland got on a Zoom with him on the 7th. He came from Gadsden County. The connection with Maryland is that his associate head coach coached with Brian Williams when they were all at Gotta Be High School down in Florida, and
Big Ten Recruiter of the Year, Brian Williams, or
he does a hell of a job. He brings a lot of connections, but I'll tell you what, I think to really just single out one person, I don't think it's fair because like Brawley, you watch he's on a lot of guys. Joker, he has ties all over the country. Mike Miller's done a really good job. Mike Miller, I mean, we don't talk about the tight end room a lot because the tight end room solidified so damn early. I mean, they got guys,
and they got that later.
All, yeah, they got them all by May. And it worked out because they got their 2 out-of-state targets from they brought them on campus in March. So I just think this entire staff is a very good recruiting staff. I think they work well with each other. I think they know they have that touch of like balancing each other out. But yeah, there's no doubt that Brian Williams connections, that what he does in Florida, there's no doubt that it's paid dividends.
Okay. Inside linebacker from Hutchinson Community College. I'm just going to let you take this name because I know I'm going to butcher it.
Yeah, James Spraggins. He's from Anne Arundel High School. Really productive player. He wasn't a qualifier out of high school, but even though Maryland knew about him, he went to Hutchinson, got it taken over. And Loxley actually said yesterday during a signing day press conference that he would rather he might have been a little bit happy that JUCO didn't get a chance to play in the fall because if had Hutchinson and JUCO ball gone on, Duran probably would have been one of the most coveted JUCO prospects in the country. I'm not saying that definitely would have happened, but I could definitely see that happening if that were the case. And he was a guy that at one point, there were other schools like Louisville, South Carolina, that thought that he was open because he wanted to be open. He wanted to kind of enjoy the process. But at the end of the day, once Maryland kind of got him, once it was done, that was it.
Corey Coley Jr. from Trenton Christian in Jacksonville, safety prospect. I don't know too much about him, so you can take this. So
he actually just won a state championship last night. He wrapped up senior year. I know he finished with the team, or tied with the team high, 3 interceptions on the year. I believe he was listed at 6 foot, 170 pounds. But he gets on campus in January, so that's really big for Maryland. So just a really instinctive, just high IQ guy, smart guy, and he has that length and he has the frame to just grow more. My opinion, I think a redshirt year, 1 year in strength conditioning, kind of build that body up. I mean, 170 pounds, you definitely have room to grow in. So I think he could be a guy that maybe next year maximize that 4-year redshirt or 4-game redshirt rule and come back 2021 and he'll be another young contributor.
Yeah, with Trader and Coley, they really help solidify that safety position that already has Nick Cross. They got Smith last year. They had Antoine Richardson's the only one that's going to be leaving. I mean, that's a pretty solid safety room. I don't think anybody's talking about that. I think
I think
give the credit for.
I think Coley will be. I think 24/7 listed him as a safety, but that's actually inaccurate. He'll be lining up as a cornerback for Maryland.
Okay, so he will be a corner, but same thing. I mean, the top 4 corners. I mean, you got the two Bennett's, Deontay Banks, who's from my alma mater. Just had to say that, and still who is one of the best freshmen in probably all of college football. He's just really taking that. He's really shutting down opponents, and to add more to that cornerback room, that's always a good thing to have.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to talk about these two together because they're 2 of the tight ends that Maryland signed, Winston Wolfe and CJ Dupree. Is that how you say it?
Yep. Yeah, Dupree will be the guy that's like the physical tight end, and everyone is going to somehow bring up another new position that they want to move him to. And I'm just going to tell all of you, no, he is not moving. He is coming in as a blocking tight end. The dude is like 6'4", 6'5".
This guy's a tight end. I mean, I watched the highlight film. This guy is a tight end This guy could be a red zone threat early
Yeah, I mean,
on.
they were definitely I know at one point. So I actually heard that Penn State tried reaching out last couple of days, but I had heard at one point that Penn State was primarily looking at him as an offensive tackle. I think Rutgers was at one point trying to do that. Maryland wants him as a tight end. Maryland needs blocking tight end. The offensive line sometimes is not the strongest, and if you want to seal the edge, a 6'5", 255-pound tight end that's already squatting 530 pounds as a 17-year-old man going into his early enrollment. He'll be a guy that will maximize that. And fans that think maybe he'll move to tackle, left tackle, it's an entirely new position. It's just way too much, and he's too athletic to move to an offensive lineman. I think personally, I know he can split out, and he can kind of use that size and bully his way through. I'm not sure I see it as much in college. He definitely is capable of it, but yeah, to kind of seal that edge and kind of Loxley's offense, they want to go two tight ends. And if you have a guy like Weston Wolf on one side, who's a more receiving guy who can even check out, split out wide, he has great length, great hands, great route running to the point where he does a good job getting enough separation and uses that length really well to high point the ball. And then you look at a guy like Dupree on the other end of Wolf, who can serve as a six blocker for the quarterback. Maryland fans we've seen the offensive line over the years that has not been up to par, that has not lived up to expectations. So getting a guy like Dupree, getting a guy like Joey Burns, I know you mentioned you wanted to talk about Wolf and Dupree, but Joey Burns, shout out to him because he's a hell of a guy that can play tight end. He can play H-back, but I love the haul that Maryland got in this position group. And shout out to Mike Miller because he did this quickly. He got his guys and he got them early.
Yeah, one more thing with CJ. A lot of people want to say, well, this kid it was the same way and he developed. They're different people. You can't compare them to different people because everybody develops differently. With CJ, he could just be reaching he could just be reaching his peak right now. And we can't really say that we already know that this kid's going to move. We have to let him develop. You can't just keep trying to move somebody before you even see how they develop, especially when they're a 17-year-old kid.
Yep. Yeah. So, I mean, at the end of the day, if he gets on campus and he's all living up to standards or not, don't want to say that, but if they feel that the position, he can be more effective elsewhere, or, you look at this year, the tight end room. We have guys like Tyler Baylor, Cam Blunt, move him over to the tight ends so that, provide that depth. If Maryland's in a situation where they need to do something like that, yeah, Dupree could be a candidate to help fill a role, but I don't see it going into his career.
How much did that hurt this year when CO was medically ineligible to play? How much did that hurt Maryland's offense?
Yeah, that was huge. I mean, definitely huge. If had Maryland pushed the season to the spring, or excuse me, not Maryland, the Big Ten, Chig probably would have been good to go, but not this year, unfortunately.
Yeah. Terrence Butler from St. Francis, the third guy from sorry, we talked about one guy from St. Francis. This is another guy. Terrence Butler, he's listed as a defensive end, but I saw him line up as a linebacker more often in his highlight film. I think he's probably more of a linebacker than he is a defensive end, but he's also a very raw prospect. I see a guy that has potential, but he's very raw. So it's going to be interesting to see how this guy develops. If he develops the way the Maryland thinks he will, he's going to be a big-time player.
I think he'll be like an outside backer, Jack. I think is kind of the role I see. But if I tell Maryland that, they'll say no, he's an outside backer because we see it this year. Because some guys move over from the Jack. In some next play they run a different scheme or they're running a different package, and they're playing the Sam. So there are definitely guys that are interchangeable. With how we saw last year with Keandre Jones. I believe he started both Sam and Jack. Yeah, I think he's a guy. He actually has a lot of length to him as well, and he does pretty good change of direction, good close speed. I just think what maybe the fundamentals and the game speed.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be the biggest transition. But he's a smart player. He's instinctive. He has that chip on his shoulder. I got a chance to watch him a couple times last year. Shout out to St. Francis for every week having a running clock second half. But he's a hell of a player.
Yeah, I saw him in coverage, and I'm like, okay, he's raw, but he's hanging on. Solomon coverage, he may be wrong, but he is holding his own. This guy can really be a good player in the Big Ten. Ty Fulton, this one's interesting because wide receiver, he was one of the best, probably the best player on his team, but he tore his ACL during his junior year, and with COVID happening, it really did affect. I'm trying to be.
Yeah, you're good. No. You're good. So I can definitely help out with that. So I know
Yeah.
I definitely know Ty very well, and
Yeah.
the whole recovery process.
Yeah.
A big thing for him was he saw a lot of schools that were showing that fake love, and then once he got 100% healthy, close to 100% healthy, they started reaching out saying, "Hey, we want you." But Maryland got him in the fold early, and he's a guy that he has a lot of size. He tracks the ball well downfield, and I got a chance to watch him a couple weeks ago at a 7-on-7. I want to say maybe October, but I got a chance to watch him, and there were some dudes. He was wearing a leg brace, and there were dudes jawing at him, and there were either one or two plays where he went downfield in the end zone on a 40-yard pass, and he high pointed both of them. I know one time he mossed one dude one-on-one, and I don't even think he said anything to the DB, but him and his teammates celebrated. But he's a hell of a player. I think let me double check. I believe he's 6'2", 178 pounds. He'll be good, and he's another guy. That's a very deep wide receiver room. He's a guy that was not originally expected to enroll early. He is now enrolling early, so he's gonna be good. He can high point the ball. He's got good speed. He says he's in a 4.4. He runs in a 4.4 right now. Yeah, we'll see. Well, hopefully, when Maryland practices start up, I'm gonna challenge him one day. But yeah, he's gonna be another key weapon in the offense.
Yeah, it's amazing the transformation that Maryland has done with their wide receiver room, because when they let go of Edsel, they had DJ. They had a lot of receivers that were under 6 foot, and then DJ takes over, and then Loxley continues to add that. They added a lot of guys that are over 6 foot, and their receiving core is really deep, but you never really noticed it because of the quarterback issues. And this just adds to it. I mean, it is ridiculous just how many good receivers they have.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember the game against Minnesota. There was their top 5 guys all had over 45 yards. That's almost unheard of. Mm-hmm. They're just really good. And this guy adding to it, he'll just add on to how great they are, how great that receiving core has been. And does it concern you a little bit that he's the only receiver that they took? Or do you think it's like, he's really good, so I think we can.
Yeah, I think they're pretty happy with him, and I think they're pretty happy with their receiver room. So it's on a focus. Ty fits exactly what they want out of their receiver. It's physical, chip on the shoulder, fits. That's the Joker mold, and he's gonna have good hands.
Yeah. After watching this film, I'm really high on this kid, and I really hope he has a great career.
Yeah.
All right, Arch person starting. Defensive back, Jayon
Venerable.
This one, huh?
Venerable.
Thank you. I'm just bad at pronouncing names. I really am.
Oh, good.
Yeah, he's a smaller guy, and but
he'll be like a nickel DB.
Yeah. I was thinking nickel. And if you talk to people nowadays, nickel, that's almost like another starting position, because people use slot receivers so well. So you need a good nickel defender. If you have a good nickel defender, your defense is going to be very, very good.
Yeah, I mean, like Dwan Ellis right now, he's lining. He moved from wide receiver to cornerback, and Maryland. I mean, Dwan Ellis. That's probably not a great example, but Maryland hasn't had a true nickel DB. They've had guys that maybe can play that, the guys that are outside that can play nickel. I think that this is the position for him. This is the perfect spot. I thought it was actually pretty smart for Maryland to kind of go out. I initially wasn't 100% sure if it would kind of be like a safety type, but I just didn't see it, and I kind of saw it more as a corner. But once I heard it was
That's what I saw too.
fit as that nickel DB role. It again really fits. He's a really physical guy. He's another guy that tracks the ball well downfield, has good play recognition, smart player, and yeah, he likes to work.
Okay, the last two tight ends, you touched on one of them, Joseph Burns from St. Francis. He's going to be more of a tight end H-back role, which, I mean, that is something you really do want. You really want a guy that can do that. And I watched in the highlights of St. Francis, this guy is going to fit that role perfectly. And then Leron Husbands from Flowers, who was originally from where did he transfer from? Thank you. Yeah, Husbands was a wide receiver at first, then did more of a wide receiver tight end hybrid. He's going to be a tight end in college. This is a guy, really, really athletic guy. I really like him, and I really hope that he develops into a nice tight end.
Yeah. I think he's a complete tight end. I think he's a guy that he can block, he can receive. He's a guy that he's worked on that athleticism, worked on the frame. He carries his weight well. He's 6'4", 225. He's going to be good.
Wow, he's actually grown because 24/7 has him listed as on a different. I'm guessing you're using this from Maryland's website.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think 24/7 needs to update a lot of those measurables, to be honest.
Yeah. That's why I'd rather go with you over them. Kobe McDonald and Roman Hinby from St. John's. McDonald's from St. John's, and Hinby is from John Carroll in Harford County, my county. Let me just say this about McDonald. This guy is a one cut and go back. He has really good speed. This is a guy that is going to outrun a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, he's I really see the running back room as Antoine being a guy that maybe can get the short yardage kind of plays. I think Colby's a guy that can kind of split out of the backfield in the passing attack and kind of do damage in space. He's a smaller guy. For some reason, 24/7 thinks that he's not very fast, but he is pretty quick.
If you watch the highlight film, he's got game speed.
Yeah, I mean, he can be like that. He kind of has that elusiveness to him where it's a little bit tougher to kind of just bring him down. It's not always that simple. And then Hemby, he's a guy that at one point I did say that I wasn't sure if he was very high on Maryland's board, but that was wrong for me to say because he definitely was high on Maryland's board. He's a guy that really can be at every down back, 6 foot, 200 pounds. He's a guy that he can be an every down back, whether it's running the ball or passing. I mean, I got a chance to watch him. There was actually he was approaching 4.3, 4.35 territory this summer. He's a two-time All-County, John Carroll 2019 Offensive MVP. He's Offensive Rookie of the Year in 2018, and really.
Who are you talking about right now? Who are you talking about?
Roman Hemby.
Okay, we're talking about him. Okay, let me just say this. When I first saw his highlight film, I just said this guy might turn into a complete running back because he can run. He has some good hands, and I saw him actually go out wide as a wide receiver. I mean, if you want to talk about complete back, that's it.
Yeah, no, that's him, and I think he's a guy that maybe he kind of takes on that funk role where he's kind of just that consistent back for Maryland. I really could see that out of him.
Yeah, it's just crazy for me for this because you had Emmanuel Quickly for basketball in 2018 from John Carroll. You had Deontay Banks in 2019, cornerback from Edgewood, and now you have Roman Hinby. If you would have told me that 3 out of 4 years, the Harford County would have 3 athletes go Division I in college, I would have thought you were crazy because that just does not happen.
Yeah, no, it's been a very good class. Been a very good class for sure.
Yeah. Kyle Long, an offensive tackle from Missouri. When he had committed, I'm like, who is this kid? Because I just didn't know that much about him.
Yeah,
and I don't mean that as an insult. It's just, it sounded
like Maryland kind of wanted a developmental guy, and guy with immediate impact, and Kyle Long kind of fits that developmental mold. It's just the measurables are good. What he's kind of done when he's been productive, still kind of just rework the frame. Again, it takes time to get that strength
Yeah.
and reworking your body to from high school to college. It's especially at a tackle spot. So I think that's kind of the boat that he's in. But he enrolls early, so that again
Yeah.
that always helps.
Yeah, here's the thing with offensive linemen. You want developmental offensive linemen because they end up being some of the best offensive linemen in the conference. So the fact is, I'm going to trust, and I trust Loxley because they got all those offensive linemen last year, and a lot of them are in the two deep. So just trust him with this. They know what they're doing. I got no problem with this. If they think that he can develop into a starting caliber in the Big Ten offensive tackle, I'm all for it. All right, there was actually one more commit that didn't sign, but he apparently is going to be a gray shirt Bam Booker, who is Tank Booker's brother. Is that right?
Yeah, the Bam Booker. Yeah, it's Anthony Booker's little brother. Yeah, he's all signed in February.
Yeah. What do you see in him? I see a guy that could probably develop down the line as a contributor to the linebacking core. I think he has some ability. The guy's what is he, 6'3"?
Yeah, I think 6'3".
I mean, you really can't teach that. You can't teach size. I think later down the line he could be a contributor.
Yeah, no, I think he's a guy that I think he's just kind of he's a guy that I think will get a chance to kind of enroll on as a student in this fall, join the team in the spring. I think he's a guy that he has a really high ceiling. So I think he's a guy that can kind of be a depth piece on the line for Maryland.
Yeah, this is a really good class, and I can't wait to see what happens. All right. One last thing. Looking forward to 2022. How about the quarterback class? I mean, you got three guys that could probably be Power 5. They could probably be Power 5 commits.
Yeah,
and that just does not happen in the state of Maryland. It's maybe one every 3 years. So
yeah,
that is really impressive.
yeah. No, definitely, it's a pretty deep class. Sounds like Jaden Saray is kind of the guy that Maryland wants, but Preston Howard's a very athletic guy.
He's 6'6". I mean, you can't teach that.
No,
and then John Griffith from St. Francis. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, no, it'll be interesting. I think all three of them kind of have different skill sets, but they're all helpful leaders and real good students. So it'll be interesting to watch.
All right, guys, that was the 2021 recruiting class with my guest Ahmed Ghafir. Ahmed, thank you so much, and hopefully I'll have you on again to talk about some stuff.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate you having me on, man.
No problem. All right. See you guys next time.